Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Brian Tully. Thank you for joining us for our Wednesday webinar. I'm the founder of Tully Law Group, and we are going to get started in a little bit with our webinar entitled Elder Law versus Elder Care Law. There is a difference between the two, and we're going to cover that today. But like always, we'll give it a few minutes for people to get logged in, and I'll see you in a few. All right, everybody, we are going to get started with today's webinar. Before I do, just want to make sure that you can see me and hear me, the audio and the visual. If you can just please, somebody can let me know in the chat box that we are all good, technologically, I should say. So again, if somebody just give me a thumbs up or let me know in the chat box that we are good, you can hear me and see me. And while I'm at it, see my PowerPoint. Are we good? Can you hear me and see my PowerPoint and see me? If somebody could please let me know. Usually somebody lets me know. Oh, there we go. Very good. The chat is disabled. All right, I appreciate that, Patrick. Okay, so there is a Q&A section, so I'll put that in there right now as well. As I'm talking today, I'll be happy to answer questions at the end. Just please go to the Q&A, and I don't know why the chat would be disabled, but let me see. The chat shouldn't be disabled, but Q&A or chat, and I'll be happy to answer any questions at the end. There should certainly be time to do that. So again, thank you. All right, so today's topic is one very close to my heart and our hearts over here at Tully Law Group. It's the difference between elder law and elder care law. There is a difference. It's two separate practice areas. I will admit some firms are using both phrases interchangeably, but there is a difference, and that's what I'm hoping to kind of share about today. And again, if you have questions, just let me know. We're going to get into it now. And again, still going to be sharing my screen throughout. So if you've followed us at all, we are an elder care law firm. And I have spoken for years about the benefits of integrating the care aspect into long-term care planning and typical elder law situations. So today's going to be a little bit of a deeper dive into what that actually means, and so that you can make the decision as to what would be best for your family, an elder law firm or an elder care law firm, as long as you know what the elder care law firm actually stands for and the services they provide. And that's what we're covering. So again, thank you for joining us. Now, a typical elder law firm and I was one for a number of years, so I'm very familiar with that. I'll give you that little bit of a background. Um, so I started practicing in 1998. So it's been 26 years that I've been practicing in this field and helping families with these issues. But from 98 until 2008-ish, I was a typical elder law firm. And what that meant was is that we focused really on two things. It's what I call the documents and the dollars. We're as attorneys, right? We're good at certain things. We're good at the law, applying the law, interpreting the law as it applies to your legal and your financial matters. That's what an elder law attorney does. And I was rather comfortable with it for years, but as I sat with clients time and time again, just addressing their legal and financial matters wasn't really solving the problem. It was addressing what I could address, and I was helping as much as I could, but I knew that there was always something more out there. So, for example, I'd be sitting with a spouse or a child, and mom or dad is in a rehabilitation facility. They're sitting with me, and I'm talking about legal and financial matters. I'm not talking about the care matters. Those are off to the side. But why is that family member, why is that daughter there talking to me? Because her dad needs assistance with his care. That's the impetus. That's the driver for them to reach out to an elder law attorney. So perhaps somebody at the rehab said, you have to protect the house. Or maybe somebody in the admissions office at the rehab nursing home said, you need to apply for Medicaid. So here they are thinking about these legal and financial things when they come to sit with an elder law attorney. But again, as we peel away the layers of the onion, why are they there? They're there because their loved one needs assistance with care. And as a result of that, as a result of those medical conditions, as a result of those long-term care conditions, we then need to do legal and financial issues and address those problems. Significant problems must be addressed. I am not minimizing legal and financial needs because they're there and they're significant. But what all I'm simply doing is adding in the reality that there is a care component to most every elder law matter. And that's what I started to address about 19 years ago. So 2005, 2006, I started saying, how can I better help my clients? You know, in the visual here in the PowerPoint, the care is off to the side. And in a typical situation, that elder law firm is letting the family handle those care issues on their own. I've written several pieces that have been published in national publications for lawyers that deal with the practice of elder law and what I call the business of elder law. And there's different practice models. A typical elder law firm is really just going to do this, the legal and the financial. Then there's another type of elder law firm which will actually refer out to a care manager or a care advocate because they too recognize that there's a need for it. But the downside to that referral-based model is that you now have two separate companies and two separate entities doing two separate things for that same family. And then there's another practice model, which is what we're going to be talking about today, which is what's called life care planning. That's the model that we've been doing since 2009, where we incorporate the care needs in-house. So everybody under one roof is in the same direction to help the family get the best care possible. So there's different ways to help. In my opinion, in my sincere, heartfelt opinion, the life care model is always going to be the best and most helpful way to the family where we incorporate the issues, which again, we'll be getting into that a bit today. This traditional elder law firm, which will focus on the documents and the dollars, is going to leave a good chunk of the care part up to the family. And the way we look at it is our job is to help the family in every way possible. And it's truly those care issues. If we can get that support and get that direction and get that coordination and that navigation through the long-term care maze, it's those care issues that are really going to bring the peace of mind. All right. So as we move forward here, elder care law is going to be the practice model where we implement the care coordination, implement the care advocacy and navigation all within one single practice. All right. And it's important to realize, again, I'm not minimizing the legal and the financial. I have probably some of the best elder law attorneys on my staff. We have a team of 26 attorneys and paralegals and advocates and management, of course, here. Um, and they're all superb. They're fantastic at what they do. That's why they work here. So we will cover all those legal concerns and financial concerns, but yet we will also, in a very holistic and supportive way, cover the care issues. All right. Now, let me take a little minute, go backwards, go back in time, and talk about why we actually do this. Some of you that have heard me speak before, I do this because of my family, and there's a good bunch of elder attorneys and elder care attorneys and social workers, and we do what we do because of what we went through and what we experienced and our desire to help families. So up there on the screen right there, that is Grandma and Grandpa. That's Alice and Andy Tully. That's my dad's parents. And what you'll find is, what I found is, as I was growing up as a teenager, so I was in 1980, I was 10 years of age. And while I'm at it, let me bring up Tina and Pop Up. So what we have here, these are my four grandparents. Again, my dad's parents on the left, and my mom's parents on the right. I was 10 years old in 1980. And what we found is, what I observed as a 10, 11, 12-year-old in going through my teenage years, is all four of my amazing grandparents were going through some health challenges, some more than others, during that decade. And I was the kid in the back seat of my mom's car and dad's car, getting driven around to the different doctor appointments, to the dialysis, to the physician, to dealing with other concerns, dealing with home health care, dealing with ultimately with hospice issues, the wheelchairs, the canes, the disabilities. I lived that firsthand, again, in the back seat of the car. Now, another interesting point to kind of bring this into families and children, my dad was from one of 11 kids, grew up over in Lynbrook, New York, in Nassau County, and my mom was one of two. Now, my aunt, my mom's sister, lives down in Florida. So supportive, great woman, but she's down in Florida. And I know a lot of families deal with the out-of-state siblings. And so most of things fall on the shoulders of the one local child. Now, Tina and Pop-Up, my mom's parents, lived right next door to us. So and I grew up in Malvern, and Lynbrook's right next door. So it was a very, very family-based environment that I grew up in, especially with Tina and Pop-Up right next door. But what I experienced as this child growing up 10 to 20, even into my 20s, and again, into law school, I saw what my dad and his siblings did for Grandma and Grandpa, and how difficult it was for the 5, 6, 7 aunts and uncles all around trying to help. The emotional issues were staggering. The decision making, what type of help, where do we live, what's next? And there was 5, 6, 7 smart, bright, loving, caring adults trying to help. And then on my mother's side, again, primarily her doing the running around and the decision making and the support, and what do we do, where do we turn? The idea and the concept of caregiving is exhausting. It is necessary. It is woefully unsupported, unfortunately, in this world, in our country, and caregivers need more support. That's what I saw growing up. And as I got into law school, which, by the way, my dad's dad was a lawyer, and that's how I ended up going to law school, because he wanted me to do that, and it really suggested, I should say, and it really changed my life, and that I went to law school in the late 90s, mid 90s. What I took, though, was an elder law course, and what I took was an estate planning course. And what that did was it solidified what I knew and loved and cared about for the 15, 18 years prior. I realized that in law school, taking courses like this, that there is a way that I could help other parents and help other grandparents as their loved ones age. So here I am, just passed the bar exam, getting sworn as a lawyer in January of 1998. All I've ever wanted to do was elder law and elder care and estate planning. And that's all I've ever done. self-taught, never worked for a law firm that did this, because this has been my mission. So when I sit down with clients from 1998 to 2005, just focusing on the legal issues and just focusing on the financial issues, I wasn't satisfied. I wasn't helping families as much as I knew they needed the help. Again, sitting with that daughter in the earlier example, knowing her dad is in a facility and she needs help with that too, but my hands are tied. That's not my knowledge base. That's not what I can help with. So reaching out to advocates and bringing in the care component to offer that coordination and that navigation and that advocacy changed everything. So in 2009, that's when we launched our life care planning practice. So it's been 15 years that we've been helping families with these care issues right alongside the legal and the financial. That's what gives our clients the peace of mind. So I want you to have that little bit of a background, not to take too much time on it, but let's move on. All right, so we'll see you guys later. So what exactly is long-term care? What is medical care? What do our loved ones face as they age? Well, we have a split system. All right, we have a medical system and we have a long-term care system. The medical system, as you can see in the pictures there, that's medical, that's doctors, that's hospitals, that's rehabilitation centers with physical therapy and occupational therapy. Usually also covered by health insurance, Medicare, Medicare supplemental policies, etc. Medical needs covered by medical insurance for the most part. If you look at the right side of your screen, that's not medical care. That's long-term care. What you have there is a gentleman faced with a chronic illness, a chronic issue, which is requiring him to be in a wheelchair. So long-term care is not medical care. Long-term care, and I'll do this in the next slide or two, is all about our functional abilities, generally what's called our activities of daily living, okay? It's what happens in between those doctor visits and those hospital visits. It's the day-to-day needs that we have. Now, as I said, the activities of daily living. So long-term care is generally this functional, physical, our abilities to handle what we need to do to live independently. There is also, not just the physical and the functional, there's also a cognitive part. That's what's called the instrumental activities of daily living, okay? So let's talk about that a little bit more. The ADLs. The ADLs are going to be what we do every single morning, right? We get out of bed. That's called transferring. We then walk across the bedroom to the bathroom. We toilet, we bathe, we dress, we groom, and we eat. Those are the 7 activities of daily living. And if somebody needs assistance with these, we're now in the world of long-term care, okay? Now, the cognitive part of aging, the cognitive part of activities of daily living is the IADLs, the instrumental activities. That's more cognitive, more of the processing that's required to carry out those activities of daily living. So this is transportation. Can you drive without getting lost? Can you take the bus? Are you able to handle your finances and pay your bills? Can you shop? Can you keep the house? Can you keep things clean and do laundry? Can you prepare food? Are you able to set up your own medications? That is, again, more of the cognitive part. And we'll sit with families every day of the week, and this is what can go first, right? You start noticing getting lost or perhaps wandering as they go for a walk and not making their way back exactly correctly, not paying bills, the medication bottles piling up because they're not taking them, the dishes piling up, the mail piling up. Those are all signs that something is occurring. May not be physical long-term care, but again, it's a cognitive concern, and there's ways to get help with that, all right? So in essence, care, in our context, long-term care is all of the services and supports that are needed to meet someone's long-term care needs, all right? How do we keep them safe in their living environment as independently as possible? So it's all of those services and supports. A good way that we use over here at Tully Law Group is this visual that we call the elder care continuum. This is elder care. This is what we're talking about. You'll see on the left side, all right, on the left side, you've got a gentleman standing there with no cognitive or functional limitations, right? He's handling his ADLs, he's handling his IADLs, he's living at home. The cost of care is zero. The next column over, again, trying to progress, and it doesn't always happen this way as we know, but just trying to progress generally to the right, we have the cane. Then we have some limited function, and again, it could be cognitive or the functional. We have a little bit of assistance. Maybe that's family. Maybe it's informal care at first, or maybe it's a neighbor stopping in, or a child coming by before work and after work. Or maybe you're hiring somebody, or somebody from the VA, a couple hours a day here and there. But generally there's a progression. So there in the middle of the screen is more function with the walker, more help in the house, and then perhaps the scooter, and then perhaps we're looking at the wheelchair, and ultimately perhaps a nursing home. So there is a progression to elder care, and as those activities of daily living start to decline, as those instrumental activities of daily living start to need more and more help with them, this is where the progression goes. And this again is addressed by elder law attorneys. An elder law attorney can do certain things here as far with regard to the documents and the dollars, but they're not addressing the real issues, the driver, which is going to be the decline in the care and the support that's needed for the aging parent and for the caregiver. Okay. Now, as people progress down this elder care continuum, I've seen it time and time again, there are similar concerns. I've been doing this for 26 years. When I sit with a child or I sit with a spouse, there are similar things that are on their mind. And while all of these, I'm going to go through some concerns right now that are very, very common. Maybe it doesn't apply in your situation, but it's going to apply in a lot of other people's situations. So when I'm sitting with folks, what are they thinking about? They're thinking about, how do I protect my home? All right. How do I've paid for this home. My wife and I have paid for this home. We've lived here for decades. I don't want to lose the home to the state. I don't want a nursing home to put a lien on my property. How do I protect this home so my spouse can live here and it can be inherited by my family? How do I protect my financial accounts? How do I protect my income, right? How do I pay for the care that I'm going to need? We're not really getting into this today, but just as a little side note, I've been doing webinars monthly since the pandemic started. April of 2020 was our first webinar as we started getting into it. And they're all up on our website. They're on YouTube, our YouTube channel, Tully Law Group. The website, you can reach us, tullylawgroup.com or tullyelderlaw.com. And again, go to our seminars and webinars, and they're there. That's where we get into more of the details of what care costs. It's astronomical, all right? But again, we're not getting into that today. Another concern, how do I make sure my dad is going to get the best care that he needs and he deserves? How do I navigate the long-term care system? So when the hospital social worker says we're going rehab, what does that mean? Which rehab do I go to? How long is he going to stay there? What are they going to help them with? Who's going to pay for it? What happens if he's not getting better? What happens if it doesn't work? How do we navigate this system? How do we get him home? Can he go home? Do we need an assisted living? Do we need a nursing home? There are so many decision points as caregivers and folks with long-term care needs age. There's so many issues and choices to be made. Navigating that system becomes one of the most stressful parts. And having somebody on your team that has done it hundreds and hundreds of times in your area is very, very valuable. How do we support the caregiver, right? How do we ensure the family makes it through this intact? And ultimately, a concern that may not be spoken, but is real, is the fear, right? Now let's talk about these consequences, meaning we have these concerns. What happens if we don't address these concerns? What if my firm can't help that family protect their accounts? What if my firm can't help them get the best care? What if my firm can't support that caregiver? What's going to happen? And these are the consequences. So if we don't protect the home, there could very well be a lien placed against it, or what's called a state recovery, where Medicaid gets paid back after the person passes away. Or if there was no planning and there were creditors and debts and bills, there could be a fire sale, and the home will be sold for way under what it's really worth. If we don't protect the financial accounts, you're going to spend it. Home care, $5,000 to $10,000 a month. Nursing home care, $14,000 to $20,000 a month for most nursing homes. If you don't protect it and take advantage of certain benefits that are available, if you're eligible, then you're going to spend it. And then what? What does your spouse live off of? I have yet to sit with a client in their late 70s, 80s, 90s and say, I'm okay spending everything. I don't want a penny to go to my kids. I've never met a single client to say that. The kids might say they don't want it, they don't need it, and I get that, and I think that's the right approach. But the parents don't feel that way. The parents want something, their legacy, their financial legacy, as well as their intangible legacy to pass on to their children, all right? If you don't protect your income, you're not going to be able to pay your bills. As I just said, if you don't find a source to pay for the care, you're looking at home care and SNF skilled nursing facilities upwards of $20,000 a month, $100,000 to $200,000 to $240,000 a year for long-term care. We have to figure out how to pay for it. How do we help your loved one get the best care? Frailty and decline and crisis. And God, we do all we can to avoid and minimize those crises, but they happen. And if we can avoid them and navigate around them and prepare in advance and have advocates to help us through that, we're going to help your loved one get the best care possible. This long-term care system. How many doctors are in a hospital or in a rehab center or in a nursing home, right? Dozens and dozens, or at least, they're admitted there and they're working there. Those hospitals and rehab centers also have that many lawyers working for them. And what we have found through the years is the hospitals and nursing homes and rehabs and home care agencies, as much as we need them and like them and use them, they have their protections in place. By having your advocates, your team lead the family through that, you're going to have your own protection, your own advocacy, and your own counselors, again, to navigate through the long-term care system. How do we support that caregiver? Caregiver burnout is real. We've seen it time and again. Think of, it doesn't have to be a parent and child. It's typically spouses. Dad declines, mom is going to do everything she can to take care of her husband. Even to her own neglect, even to her own self-care and health declining, her own wellness, her own emotional stability. She's not seeing her friends. She's not laughing anymore. She's dealing with long-term care. And she loves that man, and she will do that till the day she can't do it anymore. But let's get some support. Let's get some help in there so that she can get out with her friends. She can go for a walk around the block. She can go shopping, go to the mall, go to the movies, and know that her husband's being taken care of in the home appropriately. So we want to avoid caregiver burnout, and we need a plan B. Stuff happens, right, everybody? We know that something can happen that's unexpected, and I will tell this to families probably once a week. Mom, you're taking care of dad and doing all you can. That's what's happening now. What happens if something happens to you? Now what? You got a child in the city, you got a child in Jersey. Can your husband live here alone? What's the plan B? So having a team that is able and capable of addressing these issues and supporting that decision making is going to make all the difference. We want family to communicate. We find that there's usually one child that is most involved, and there could be two or three. We see that all the time, but usually it's on one child. And we want communication, if safe, if healthy and appropriate. We want to minimize tension. Again, we're not therapists. We don't provide counseling. We're not here to do that. But if we can communicate and make sure that people are on the same page and minimize challenges and confusion and miscommunication, then we're going to try to do that. The last, again, unspoken concern from a lot of families and parents and children is the anxiety, insecurity What do you mean I have to go to a facility? When do I get to go home again? What do you mean I can't drive? Um, I can't dress myself. How am I going to handle this? I'm in a wheelchair. How am I going to go get the mail? How am I going to reach the counter, the cabinet to get my medications? There are always concerns and the fear of the unknown, right? As we start getting to this point in our life, we don't know what tomorrow holds. None of us are guaranteed tomorrow, right? That's what the good book says. But the reality is that if we can address these fears and provide support, right, so that we have answers, there's a way to do this, there's a way to do that, and having the resources, and we may not know everything, and may not be able to do everything, but we know people that can. Okay, again, with the purpose of alleviating fears. Okay, so I felt it important to cover this because this is 99% of the families we sit with on the elder care side. All right, now, because there's so many moving parts, what we started doing a couple years ago is trying to make it as understandable as possible. So we break it down into 3 domains, all right? A domain is an area in our life that we can exercise some control over, okay? It's not something that's intangible. It's not something that's completely out there. We can exercise some control over this. So the 3 domains and what they include for the most part. So there's a legal domain. So if you go back to our concerns list, the first 3 concerns are the legal domain. How do I protect my home? How do I protect my accounts? How do I protect my income? Then we have the financial domain. And which one is that? Think back to the last slide. That's going to be, how do I pay for the care, right? And then why we do what we do is in the care domain, that's every other concern that our clients and our families face. How do I help my loved one get the best care? How do I navigate the long-term care system? How do I support the caregiver and the family? And how do we address these fears? These 3 domains are aging. This is elder care and this is life care planning. This is what we do. We help families with all of this. This is what an elder care law firm does if they're doing it the right way. Now, each of these domains have a singular goal that we pursue. So again, the legal domain, the financial domain, and the care domain. On the legal front, we're going to be protecting assets. Yes, that includes income as well. That's where we're headed. We're going to protect the most assets possible. On the financial domain, what's our purpose there? As I've said, we want to get the care paid for, typically by Medicaid. On the care front, which again is what makes a life care planning firm like ours stand out, is we're going to help your loved one get the best care possible. That's what it's about. Million moving parts, don't know where to turn, don't know what first step to take. And by the way, if you're new to this, I do hope you find this helpful because this is what is coming down the road. You can even share this. Once we put the link on our website, it'll be up hopefully by tomorrow. You can share this. You can send the link and have people that are enduring this, starting to endure this, realize that there is a structure to this and there is help to this, and protect the most assets and get the care paid for and help your loved one get the best care possible. That needs to be the goal. All right, the big goal, the 3 separate smaller goals. Okay, now, when we say in the legal domain, we want to protect the assets, it comes down to 2 parts. And again, we're not really getting into this today, but I just want to delineate it a little bit. Protecting the assets is going to come down to estate planning and asset protection. And when we say estate planning, we're referring to 4 basic documents that everybody should have: a last will and testament, a durable modified power of attorney, modified. The standard power of attorney does not cover a lot of this. Doesn't cover asset protection, doesn't cover income protection, doesn't cover trusts, doesn't cover Medicaid work. The power of attorney your loved one needs to be modified and expanded to cover all of these aging issues. Also need a healthcare proxy and a living will. That's the estate planning documents we need to have in place. On the protection side, what we're 90% of the time in home care situations, we're looking at the irrevocable trust. And again, not getting into that today, I have webinars on this on our website and on our YouTube channel. Again, Tully Law Group or Tully Elder Law. Um, Irrevocable trusts are not as scary as they sound. There's actually some good control maintained by the parent and security as well. So we're actually releasing a new set of videos on that, and that should hopefully be out next week, just breaking out the 10 ways that these things operate and how they can help. All right. When we look at the financial part, paying for the care, we're going to rely on usually community Medicaid, which is home care Medicaid, or chronic care Medicaid. That is nursing home Medicaid. Let me be clear though, this is a last resort. Do we do Medicaid work? Is that how we keep the lights on? Is that how we pay our staff? It is. We do a lot of Medicaid work. If a family can avoid Medicaid, do it. If you're able to pay for the care yourself, which a lot of people can't, you do that. If you're able to implement proper, robust, long-term care insurance to pay for the care, then do that. But again, a lot of people can't. They either don't qualify or they can't afford it, which means a lot of families end up relying on the Medicaid program to pay for the care. Medicaid eligibility, it's about a person's assets, it's about a person's income, and yes, it's about their care needs. That's gotten so much more complicated over the last 10 or 12 years. More webinars about that on our website. But navigating the Medicaid application process is no longer just about moving the house and the bank accounts. It is significantly harder because it's about the care issues. There are going to be, in a home care setting, there's 3, 4, 5 assessments which didn't exist 10 years ago, right? So the Medicaid is making the process harder so the state can save money, and the way they're doing it is by making the care eligibility harder, all right? Another reason we do what we do. But we started our life care practice in '09 before they even changed it and made it harder, but perhaps we knew it was coming. Perhaps we had the forethought to figure that out, but it is the right way to handle it. Now, moving on, when we look at the care domain, the goal again, remember, is to help your loved one get the best care. How does an elder care law firm do that, right? Well, an elder care law firm is going to have a professional on staff called an elder care coordinator. Can be a social worker, it can be a registered nurse, it can be a case manager, it can be a geriatric care manager. This elder care coordinator role, this is the lifeline between the law firm and the family and the care that's needed, okay? This is what an elder care law firm needs to have. If an elder care law firm says they're an elder care law firm and they don't have an advocate on staff to help in certain ways, then respectfully, it's not an elder care firm. It's an elder law firm. There's a difference there. Okay, so the elder care coordinators, or as we call them, ECCs, here at Tully Law Group, we have 4. I have a registered nurse on staff. I have 2 geriatric social workers with over 25 years of experience each in the geriatric field primarily, and a case manager on staff. So our 4 ECCs, what do they do with families? Well, they will help assess the situation. They will meet with the families once we're engaged. Excuse me. Once we're engaged, they'll be in the home or that environment, living environment, within 10 days to establish a baseline assessment. This is where Mr. Smith is today, and we have something to reflect back on as things improve or decline. They're going to coordinate. They're going to coordinate the benefits that are out there. They're going to coordinate the providers. They're most importantly going to coordinate the care. In addition, they're going to advocate. There's going to be those assessments, or if we're in a nursing home situation or a rehab situation, they will be there advocating so that your loved one gets the best care. Social workers and medical people, they kind of speak the same language. And as awesome as nurses and doctors and social workers are in that field, when you have a care planning meeting or you're in the middle of a home care assessment in your home, things can move fast. You may not necessarily know all that's going on. The nurse assessor or the care planning team might have 4 more meetings or assessments that day. They're moving fast. The purpose of having advocates there is to slow the process down. Make sure the caregivers are heard. Make sure the client, the one in need of care, is heard if they can convey that. And make sure, again, that your loved one's getting the best care possible. They're going to support through the entire engagement. And we'll talk about this, but a life care engagement with an elder care firm is not a transaction. We are supporting a family for a full year. That's what we do. Why 12 months? We'll get the care in the house. We'll have Medicaid covering it, but then there's still things that can happen down the road. So if the aid doesn't show up, or if Medicaid makes a mistake, or something else occurs, if there's a hospitalization, we are on call. That's the beauty of a life care service, is because it's a relationship. We're here to help your loved one get the best care and to support the caregivers through the process. It is not a transaction where we file papers, protect a house, and walk away. There's a big difference there, okay? And finally, what the care coordinators do is they will intervene if there's a crisis. If there's a fall, if there's a discharge, if there's bed sores, if there's a decision for nursing home or hospice care, they will intervene. They will be the voice. They will help support and make this process, as it's elder care and long-term care. It's a difficult emotional process, but they're going to make it as benign. They're going to make it as peaceful as possible, because that's what's needed. Life is difficult enough with everything going on. So why not have an advocate sitting next to you, helping you through this process? Ultimately, the number one thing we hear all the time is, wow, that's peace of mind, or thank you for this, or thank you for that. My care coordinators hear this all the time. It's about peace of mind, knowing there's an answer, knowing there's a direction, knowing there's a solution, okay? Not knowing is what leads to the anxiety and the fears, okay? So we try to help our clients, and I think we succeed. Now, these care coordinators come in, not only are they helping that family with peace of mind, they're going to be stability. They're going to be that support team. They're going to have answers. When there's no answers as to what to do or where to go, your ECC will have answers. They will help maintain the dignity of your loved one, help maintain that quality of life, because we know what facilities can be like. We know what home care can be like. Maintaining dignity and quality of life is huge. And yes, we also need to be able to manage change and transitions. Change and transitions will occur. That's life. Things change. Whether you're a child, a high schooler, a teenager, 20s, 30s, 40s, things change. And that continues on through our 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And knowing what's around the corner is very valuable and worth its weight in gold. So that traditional elder law firm that I mentioned in the beginning, where they're doing just the legal and the financial, and I know plenty of good, solid elder law attorneys, I'm not knocking them, it's just that's what they do. They're leaving all of this care part we've been talking about on your shoulders, right? So do you want help with that? The reality is, an elder care firm with a life care planning model is going to be able to do that. Okay. It's again what we've been doing for 15 years, 16 years. In fact, this life care planning model is a national model. There's what's called the Life Care Planning Law Firms Association. It's been around since 2005. I currently serve as the president of this organization nationwide, supporting law firms so they can practice this elder care law, so they can use this life care model with our care coordinators to support the attorneys and to support the families. Let me show you, I'm going to try to do another switch here on my sharing screen. And again, if you've got questions, don't go away.
This is Carrie and her mom, Joyce. Carrie's worried that Joyce is not as steady on her feet as she used to be and beginning to forget things. Carrie is starting to see the writing on the wall. Mom needs some help. After doing a little research about elder care, those walls begin looking like a giant maze with too many options and more questions than answers. Can they afford in-home care? What will happen to her life savings? Can she apply for Medicaid benefits? What does Medicare cover? Does she have a will, trust, or power of attorney? Or should they think about a long-term care facility? How do you know which ones are good? It was so confusing, complex, and overwhelming that Carrie decided to call an elder law attorney. But not just any elder law attorney. She called the law practice of Tully Law Group, a member of the Life Care Planning Law Firms Association. The Life Care Planning Law Firms Association is a select network of elder care law firms dedicated to helping aging adults find, get, and pay for the care they need. More than just drafting documents, our firms take a comprehensive approach with everything under one roof, protecting assets and resources while simultaneously advocating for your care needs. Brian Tully and his team sat down with Joyce and Carrie to discuss their goals, get their documents in line, and develop a plan to pay for Joyce's care, including exploring Medicaid and VA benefits. At the same time, Joyce was paired with an elder care coordinator who is a nurse or social worker. The ECC evaluated her medical needs, capacity, and limitations. The ECC drew on her years of experience to help Joyce achieve her goal of staying at home. She found a trusted contractor who modified the home to make it safe. She arranged for a reliable home care agency to help Joyce with everyday tasks and medication management. To ensure she was getting the right medical attention, the ECC also set her up with a respected geriatric physician. Joyce now has everything she needs, giving Carrie and Joyce the peace of mind they were looking for. And Carrie is confident that if Joyce can't live at home in the future, the Tully Law Group Life Care Planning team is in place to help them choose the right facility, advocate for Joyce's care, execute their plan to pay for it, and answer all her questions along the way. Follow Carrie's lead. Whether it's your parent, spouse, or even yourself, Tully Law Group will meet you at the crossroads of legal and care advocacy to show you one clear path out of the maze with confidence. To get on the road toward your own peace of mind, give us a call.
There we go. Thank you for your patience. So that worked. What I want to do is just get back to our screen here. And what we were talking about is the idea of life care planning. And that video helps encapsulate it visually. Happens all the time. What you just saw there happens every day of the week. And we're able to come in and assist with all of those different areas and again, pursue that peace of mind. I do hope that this webinar was helpful. As you know, we're based in Suffolk County, but we work throughout Nassau County and New York City. We have life care clients throughout downstate. We have offices based in Melville, and we opened up an office in Riverhead last year. And we have another office opening up next month in Northport Village. So we're here to help. If you have questions, you can email me directly, brian@tullyelderlaw.com, or call the number 631-424-2800, tullyelderlaw.com. We're here to help with all of the legal, the financial, and the care needs. So again, thank you for your patience with that technical difficulty. Now let me see if there's any questions that I can try to help with. Let me go in here. All right, so, okay, good, thank you. So question is, to what extent and how does the ECC team deal with residents' rights issues? So there's a residents' bill of rights, there's a facilities bill of rights, so to speak, and we will advocate if there is something improper that is occurring, an improper discharge, or privacy issues or something of that nature, not the best care or concerns about the care, that's where we call a care planning meeting. They're not attorneys, they're advocates. So they will go into the facility, hold that care planning meeting, and talk about the issues and attempt to resolve it. It can then elevate to a legal matter if it's not resolved, but usually it does get resolved at that matter, at that level. Any other questions? What happens? Okay, so I mentioned the year. So what happens at the end of the year-long service that we provide? Well, we have about 230 families that stay with us year to year. So there's a renewal process that's optional. If the family wants us to stay involved, which they normally do because there's going to be another Medicaid application called a recertification within a year. There's going to be more assessments between 6 and 12 months. Another nurse from the state comes in. We need to be a part of that to keep the same hours or advocate for more. And then there's always the stuff happens reason that people stay with us. If we have a hospitalization or we have a rehab stay, my social workers will talk to those social workers and we'll work on getting mom back home, right? So there's always a reason to keep us on board, but it's optional and you don't have to do it. Any other questions? All right. Well, we do offer free consultations if you wish to talk about this. And again, it'll be on our website and YouTube by tomorrow. You can forward this if you have families that or friends that can help, that can use the help. Let me see. So question about fees. So I can't answer that now because every family is different. 100%. I appreciate the compliment, Arthur, but the life care fees are not fixed or set. There's ranges and it depends on what has to get done. Some families need documents, some families need home care, some families need trusts, some families need nursing home care. So the fee gets built into all that. I will share it's a reasonable fee considering, and not just from my perspective, but it's a reasonable fee considering what other colleagues are charging for their services that don't have the care coordinators, that don't have the life care service, that don't have the 12 months of service. So we can certainly talk about it in person. All right, everybody, again, thank you for joining us, and we will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Thank you.